there's an organization called the Heritage Foundation, and it's basically a bunch of the most conservative people in America that work together to come up with policy proposals to make America more conservative. And they have kind of been spearheading a multi-organizational push known as Project 2025. So it's not just the Heritage Foundation, it is kind of like dozens of conservative organizations coming together to basically put together a massive set of policy proposals and courses of action that can be taken immediately upon a conservative coming into power in 2024. Specifically with Trump in mind, but other conservatives could also implement these too. So this is something to keep in mind, right? And when I say dozens of other orgs, I mean the Heritage Foundation is like one of the main ones, but there are 70 other conservative organizations coming together and working on this, right? This is not a small undertaking. And their goal is to dismantle the American bureaucratic state. All of the rules and regulations, all of the different bodies of power that are balancing different aspects of our capitalistic system or protecting our social safety net, they want to gut all of it. Not just some of it, not just little changes here and there that will affect like small groups of people, but all of it. And there is a nearly 1,000-page guidebook that they have put together detailing all of these proposals that they would like to make. They are essentially arguing that this is their path forward to fighting back against the deep state. And again, the deep state is essentially the conservative term for bureaucracy. You know, the pencil pushers who survive between administrations, regardless of their political affiliation, because all they're doing is filing things in cabinets or filling out forms, etc. They're doing the grunt paperwork of making our country functional. And what they want to do is essentially purge at least 50,000 federal workers and replace them with MAGA army recruits. Okay? This entire plan revolves around trying to make sure that they have systematically put their guys in positions of power in order to undermine and disempower democracy. The Project 2025 includes policy agenda. It includes a transition plan, basically a layout of how the first 180 days of the presidency can go. It also includes like proposing like people to replace the 50,000 workers that would be fired in this purge. And this is their plan. When Salon went and interviewed experts on democracy and governance, those experts responded that Project 2025 is an authoritarian attempt to seize power by filling the federal government, including the Department of Justice and the FBI, with unwavering Trump supporters. Basically, they want to weight the bureaucratic system of checks and balances to be entirely in favor of MAGA, to be part of the Trump cult. They want to they want to topple our democracy. That's the point. Right? It's scary. This is an actual plan that they are intending to act upon. So Salon writes, one of the most important bulwarks of democracy is the career of federal civil service. Civil servants often have decades of experience inside their agencies and provide knowledge of policy and law in the federal government that enables them to serve the public. However, this is really important. They can't just be replaced like cogs in a machine because they have often specialized knowledge of how the bureaucracy works, right? So if you just get rid of these people, suddenly there is a complete void of expertise, of ability within these agencies. And if you are systematic in who you are removing, you could in fact cripple entire sections of the bureaucratic state. You could cripple the EPA, the FBI, our justice system. You could take control over the NSA and abuse the power that affords you. You could, I don't know, put a bunch of Trump loyalists in charge of different parts of the system, in which case, if there was a democratic crisis, like the kind Donald Trump deliberately tried to start in 2020, well, then you know who everyone in the government is going to capitulate to, because the people in power have been meticulously placed there by conservative think tanks. This is... I don't want to mince words on this, guys. This is an open and blatant attempt to end America. It is them announcing their plan to destroy the ability of America to function. Literally, the only thing that would be functional if they got into office would be police, would be the military. They want to hollow out America until there is nothing left except for the jackbooted thug. That is it. They want to have America operate as an occupied territory by militarized police and by the militarized military. Now, I'm going to read to you here a quote from Paul Dans, the director of the 2025 Presidential Transition Project, which is Project 2025. He says, "We need to flood the zone with conservatives. This is a clarion call to come to Washington. People need to lay down their tools and step aside from their professional life and say, this is my lifetime moment to serve." Basically, they want to bring a bunch of ideologically motivated chuckle fucks who don't know what they're doing and who will be yes men to head different portions of the US government. This, by the way, is exactly what we've been talking about when we talk about how Donald Trump, and more importantly, the savvier people around him, the conservative think tanks, the conservative politicians who actually know what they're doing, they learned from his last administration. They learned from January 6th. And Project 2025 is essentially their answer to January 6th, to the failed coup attempt. And their answer to it is to do it better, to do it in a way that is less likely to fail. Okay? Yeah, conservative think tanks have been absolutely shaping U.S. policy for, like, over 50 years. Absolutely, absolutely. But this is unprecedented. I don't want to give off the impression that this is just average run-of-the-mill Heritage Foundation shit. This is essentially the Voltron. This is the Avengers of Heritage Foundations. It's every single major conservative think tank coming together under the banner of the Heritage Foundation and saying, this is our plan should conservatives win the presidency in 2024. Okay? Here's their website. It's just project2025.org. Building now for a conservative victory through policy, personnel, and training. And we'll watch this, by the way. Paul Dans went on C-SPAN and basically laid out the entire project for like 30 minutes or so. But policy agenda. Yeah, they have just a massive book of mandate for leadership for 2025. This book is an invitation for you, the reader, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, and Miss Smith, to come to Washington or support those who can. Our goal is to assemble an army of aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go to work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state. They aren't even trying to hide that their intention is not to make the administrative state work better. It's not to provide more goods or services to voters. It is simply to destroy the functionality of our government. This book is the product of more than 400 scholars and policy experts from across the conservative movement and around the country. Contributors include former elected officials, world-renowned economists, and veterans from 4 presidential administrations. This is an agenda prepared by and for conservatives who will be ready on day one of the next administration to save our country. The Heritage Foundation is once again facilitating this work, but as our dozens of partners and hundreds of authors will attest, this book is the work of the entire conservative movement. So again, this isn't like, this isn't a situation where, oh, you know, this doesn't represent the mainstream No, this absolutely represents mainstream conservatism. This is where the party is. Where the mainstream conservative party is right now is in favor of destroying any functionality that the American government currently has, outside of its ability to kill you.